Our next talk will be by Regina, who has a penchant for and a taste for the nostalgia, for Zelda, for Portal, for anything that screams retro. Not entirely, but quite a lot. And so she will be talking to us about something completely different. We'll be moving to the realm of video games. And her talk is entitled Spiritual XP, Setting Tangible Goals. So Regina, go ahead.
I'm a math major at U of I right now, but I was for exactly one semester, for exactly one class, a video game design major, in which I spent almost every single night up till 3 a.m. coding, and I decided that's not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So, yeah, but I learned a lot in that game, I learned a lot in that semester, and I got a lot of really good materials that I kept. And in preparation for this talk, went back to, and I was like, man, I should have been a video game designer. It's fine. Relevant quote that's not from a video game, interestingly enough, is every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. Find the fun, and snap, the job's a game. So we enjoy games, we learn from games. So why don't we make the world work like a game? That is, why don't we make the jobs that we have to do motivate us in the way that games do? So in order to do this, we need to think about like what makes a game a game. And so Jane McGonigal, author of Reality is Broken, which is a fantastic book, highly recommended. I never finished it, but it's really good. The four fundamental traits of a game are goal, there's a goal to a game, rules, there's a feedback system, and voluntary participation. So that's games in general. Let's talk about video games. So the best video games, or at least the vast majority of video games, are very explicit with their goal. As soon as you start playing, you know what you're going towards. This can be something as simple as the screen starts, you're a yellow circle with a mouth, and there are a bunch of white dots. Like instantly, like I'm gonna eat all these white dots. Or it could be something much more complex, like a ridiculously long cinematic sequence explaining to you where the Triforce came from, and Princess Zelda is, and why you go save her, and why she messed everything up. But, and as you go through the game, like the rules are explained to you. Or they become clear to you. So you figure out right away, like, okay, these really poorly rendered trees, that's the edge of the realm. I can't go beyond these poorly rendered trees. Somebody says, oh, you're not allowed to leave this village until you're, we're never allowed to leave the village because we're all children eternally, which doesn't make sense. I really love Ocarina of Time, but watching somebody else play it who never played it before has revealed to me all these kinds of crazy things it does, but that's beside the point. And there are also tons of little things that give you feedback on whether you're following the rules or if you're getting closer to your goal. Little things like in Pac-Man, as soon as you eat one of those larger wide circles, right, the whole color scheme changes and it sounds different. And so you know, like, oh wow, that's really cool. Like whatever I did, I just did right. Little numbers that pop up over different things you eat, or like you jump on a Goomba and all of a sudden there's this number and you're like, oh cool, that's contributing to my score. That's so awesome. Little things like that. And then hopefully, if you're playing a video game, like if you've got a controller in your hand, it's voluntary participation, unless it's me telling you to play Portal 2, because that has a whole different set of rules. There's probably duct tape involved. So today, my goal is to make you video game designers. So I want to teach you kind of a way to take these goals in a faith life and structure them in a way that you can follow along like a video game. So the first thing you need to do, before you do anything actually, ignore the first thing. Before you do anything, every step of the way you should be writing down what you're doing. So when you start and you come up with your goal, write it down explicitly. Then you do this for two reasons. One, because any goal you can write explicitly is a lot easier to achieve than a vague idea in your head. So writing it down can help you narrow down what it is you're really trying to achieve. Secondly, is it holds you accountable. Once you set that goal and you think, oh, I got to the end of my game, you can go back to that and say, JK, I didn't actually achieve anything I wanted to achieve. So yeah, it holds you accountable. And this can be big things, it can be little things. If you start big, figure out how you're going to break it down. Because like any video game, you have levels. You can achieve a smaller goal in view of achieving a much larger one. So You could say, you know, my schedule is crazy, I don't get enough sleep, and I always end up sleeping through Mass on Sunday. This happens. Hopefully not often, but it can happen. So you start with like a simpler goal, like, okay, well, how can I rearrange my schedule to try and get more sleep? Or can I maybe, instead of just thinking, oh, I missed 10:30 Mass, I can't go to Mass on Sunday. Like, Newman has lots of Masses, so now you can like figure out with your schedule what Mass is gonna work best for you. So it's something like that, but the important thing is to, once you write your goal, have something where you can say, yes, I did that, I accomplished that. And so then once you do that, the rest is defining your rules and your feedback. So once again, write down your rules, figure out what's gonna count. If you say like, I'm gonna make it to Mass, be explicit and say like, oh, I walked in after the homily, but that's basically making it to Mass. Like, be explicit and say, it doesn't count as going to Mass unless I make it for this much of the Mass. Something like that. That's probably not the best example, but anyway, something like that. Other rules, like if you want to start praying the rosary on a regular basis and you start with praying a decade of the rosary, you're like, yay, I prayed 10 Hail Marys, and you go back to your rules and like, shoot, I was supposed to start with the Creed, and then an Our Father, and then the 10 Hail Marys, so it didn't count, I gotta try it again. Things like that. So then once you've got your rules established, you can do feedback. So the best example I thought of is like sound effects, right? When you're playing a game, you have these different sound effects that indicate to you what's going on. Koji Kondo was a master of sound effects and how they interact with the game. I don't know if anyone has ever noticed this, and it took me a long time to notice it, but depending on what you're doing in a game, the music will change. That's not a big deal. If you're close to an enemy, the enemy music starts, right? You're standing still for too long, the music changes. If you're in a particular region of Hyrule Field, the music changes. If you stand still in that different region of Hyrule Field, the music changes. And it's really epic. And it took me, I noticed it in one of the later Zelda games, but I didn't realize it for this one. Anyway, I'm getting tangential, that's fine. But, so you can do that. You can set up these cues for yourself that kind of maybe not tell you you're doing something right or doing something wrong, but just, this is the task I'm accomplishing right now. I don't know about you guys, but Keith Morber and the rest of the music program at Newman, they're master sound effect engineers. Like, they're so good. So if you want to make it to Mass every Sunday and you're like, well, I don't like the 10:30 Mass because it's all big and it's traditional, like maybe I want something better. Well, great, we've got a 5 p.m. Mass and they do praise and worship music, and it's fantastic, and you should go. I'm not just friends with the choir director, but that's fine. Things like that. Another good way to give yourself feedback is to have what I call an accountability partner. And this is somebody who can, you can check in with them and say, hey, I did this thing, and they can be like, great. There are 2 different ways to do it though. You can do co-op mode, which is you both try to achieve the same goal. So maybe like you and your roommate have neither made it to Mass while you were at Newman, so you're like, okay, man, we can do this together. We can start going to Mass and we'll do it as a team, and you can keep each other in line and achieve the goal that way. You can also do what I like to call Keibora Geiboro mode, which is a super obscure reference, but that's fine. Which is you find somebody who's really wise, who loves to talk, who can tell you and kind of guide you through maybe a path they walked themselves or a path that helped other people walk. And if they tell you, if they ask you if you want them to repeat what they've said, make sure you move the joystick down after you finish mashing the A button, because otherwise they will say it all again. But so you find yourself an accountability partner. There are little things that, especially depending on what goal you try to pick, some of these like feedback systems and rules and things, some of those are built in. My favorite example is the rosary. This sounds terrible, but it is a really good system for keeping track of what you're doing. So you move your thumb along beads, and then you get to a gap and you realize, oh, I just finished 10 Hail Marys. And then you move along and you get to the end of the rosary and you're like, oh, I just prayed 50 Hail Marys. And it's just a very good system of like keeping track of what you're doing. And so you can break that down too into like, oh, I'm just gonna pray a decade while I'm going to class. And I timed it. My rosary takes about 20 minutes. And so one decade of the rosary takes about 4 minutes, and that's about 2.5 Urbana blocks, which is literally how I time my blocks. So yeah, you can do it that way. But once you've kind of got this set up, in a way that's really going to work for you, you may get to a point, like, you may not finish the game, you may have a game over moment, you have to start over at a particular checkpoint. But once you finish the game, I've never, in my entire 21 years of living, met a gamer who's like, oh yeah, I played a game and I never played it again. Like, gamers just don't do that. We always look for the next thing. So nobody was just like, oh yeah, I played that one temple in Zelda, and I was like, yeah, I'm done. Yeah, the water temple, yeah, I was done after that. The spirit temple, the shadow temple, you keep going. You can't castle for crying out loud. Yeah, you just keep going to the next level. And if you're a gamer, you know there is no such thing as just one more level. There is always another level. So if you start with something like, I'm going to try and make it to Mass on every Sunday, then maybe once you've done that, you do it for a month, you do it 4 weeks in a row, then you're like, I'm going to add in a weekday Mass. I'm going to make it to Thursday night Mass. It's 9 p.m., it's at the end of my school day, I can totally make that happen. You go on your lunch break at the 12:05 Mass, and you find the next thing that you want to achieve. And sometimes it'll be something where you start something completely new. You're like, oh, I make it to Mass every week. Now I'm going to go on a retreat. You just decide to do that. It's something completely different. But you never just stay satisfied with the one game you finish, because no one does that. In practice, no one does that. There's always something more you want to do. You want a multiplayer mode? Find the rosary group. Mary Beth, raise your hand, please. Do you have the 10:30 rosary group still? Start one! There isn't one, start one. Start praying rosary at 10:30. If you live in Newman. If you don't live in Newman, you obviously have an excuse, which is why I don't. But the credits don't roll on your faith life until you're dead. So, as long as you're living. So now we get to the other way. We have a practical point. So, when you're producing a game, when you're working for a game company, you have to fit yourself into their expectations. So you can't just make whatever game you want. You got to work with the rest of your team, and you have to fit their image for the company and their vision for what the game is going to be. So, any wild guesses for who the employer of a good Catholic would be? That's God. So your game has to fit into his expectations. And the idea of any game you design, especially something that's applicable to faith life, it should be fitting in God's goal for you. So every step of the way, you should make your design decisions based on what He wants for you and what you want for yourself also. And hopefully those decisions will, as you beat more levels and play more games, those things will start to coincide more and more. I don't want anybody to think that I'm reducing faith life to a checklist. That's not my goal, though that'd be kind of cool. But let's just check that off. But games, any gamer will tell you that games have a side effect. So you can go to like statistics and see like video gamers tend to be better problem solvers. People who play World of Warcraft online on a regular basis, they actually tend to cooperate better with others when they're put into group situations. But games change you when you play them, and there are effects that last through the playing. And like games like Journey, which is a really great game, everyone should play it. Portal 2 is not really the case, but everyone should still play it. So yeah, I don't want anybody to think that it's just a matter of like, oh yay, I beat this level, now I beat life, and I get to do whatever I want. So as a quick sum up, you should pick your goal, you should write it out. It should be something that you can look back and say, I achieved this thing. Lay out your rules in your feedback systems, find a friend that you can achieve the goal with or someone that can help you. Give yourself rewards. This can be like adding something new or putting something back that you took away. If you're a regular coffee drinker, don't give away your coffee until after Mass, because that's a bad idea. Then you should level up, play a new game or do the same game on hard difficulty, veteran mode. And then your criteria for your game should be fitting both the Catholic Church and your own goals. And hopefully, I sincerely hope that in designing a game like this, now that you're all game designers, because I just taught you, that you can, through this design process, it can bring you closer to your fellow gamers and to God.